So a hollow form ornament consists of basically three parts: round body. It can be an oval. It can be any shape you want, really. But the most beautiful shape, really, is a sphere. That's why I don't make spheres, because I'm not very good at them. But I'm going to try. So you make a sphere. You hollow out the inside of the sphere, and then you make a finial for the bottom, and you make a finial for the top. Pretty straightforward. They're pretty elegant. The more slender that you can make the finials, the more elegant they look. Mine are not very elegant, so but I'll try my best. And they start off with a few different pieces of wood. They're all three pieces, so it's an assembly. You start with, I'll start off with basically a 3-inch, little over 3-inch square block. I'll round it into a cylinder between centers. I'm not going to do it right now because it's a waste of time, because everybody can turn a cylinder, right? And then I'll turn a tenon on the end. Ta-da, tenon magic. And then we'll put it in the chuck. Maybe. Somebody needs to take this chuck apart and clean it. It's sticking. Maybe the vice president will do that. So you really don't need the tailstock, but I like to bring the tailstock in anyway as I start to make it spherical, mainly because I'm not really good using a skew that well, and it creates a lot of force and it could vibrate. So bringing the tailstock in is a good idea. There's no reason to not use it when you can use it. So I do that, and then I'll get the tailstock out of the way once I want to pull it around and I want to pull into hollow. So it's a little bit out of round because I rounded it on my lathe and not this lathe, but we can make that work. So basically I'm just clearing out an area because this is going to be it could be the top or the bottom, doesn't really matter, but I'm just clearing out an area so I can bring it around and make it round. as I'm making this round, I'm not looking where I'm cutting. I'm looking at the back side. So I don't know if you've noticed this. You obviously can't see my eyes, but I don't ever really even see the tool making the cut because I'm watching the material come off and seeing that shape on the back side. The back side is really what's going to tell you the overall profile of the cut, not the material that's being removed at the cutter itself. Okay, that's close enough. Oh, I got a little, don't like that. Bouncing. Okay, so no big deal. I mean, you can sand it if you want. Go ahead and hit it just a little bit, but of course I'd probably smooth it out a little bit more if I was working on it. But one of the key things here is don't spend a lot of time on the outside just yet. And the reason is because you're going to be hollowing it out, and if you're like me, you're going to end up with something like this the first time you do it. And so if you spend a lot of time on the outside, it's kind of wasted after you blow through it. So don't spend a lot of time on the outside yet until you hollow it out. Once you hollow it out, then you can come back and take some really light cuts on the top side or a lot of sanding to clean it up. So basic shape, basic round, this is the body. I'm going to go ahead and pull the tailstock out now and pull in, put in a drill chuck, and we're going to drill out a 5/8 hole. Okay, so another thing is you want to know how deep you want to go. So the wall thickness, obviously the thinner the wall thickness, the lighter the ornament is going to be. A goal of mine is to shoot under an 1/8 inch. It doesn't always happen, but that's a goal. So that means I've got to have an eighth inch on the side, the top and sides, and then also an 1/8 on the bottom. So I try to estimate where I'm going to come in on the bottom side and just visually look, and then make a mental note on the bit itself on how deep it is. So it's about 1/4 inch off of this little separation on there, and that's my guide to know how deep to go. Oh, it's not bolted down, Roger. Is that what those bolts were for, Roger? What's that? Yeah. Okay, so I drilled probably, I don't know, maybe an inch in, Yeah, I mean, if you look at the sawdust, yeah, about an inch in. I didn't go all the way in yet because I want to go ahead and finish this off, and then I'll come in and drill a little bit more. I'm not going to drill all the way to depth. I'm going to start hollowing a little bit before I drill all the way to depth. That's so I can just get rid of some of that material and just keep the whole body a little bit more stable. And if you start a fire, it's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So we're going to move this so that I can actually... Stay, please. Now, it looks best if on the connection point where the finial meets the body, if there's a little bit of a transition on the body rather than the finial straight on the body itself. So that's why you'll see this little nub sticking out on it. I'll keep that nub, but I'll keep it at about an inch. It's probably a little bit over an inch right now. And that just kind of helps for the transition. It's okay for now. This is just a 3/8 bowl gouge. So I'm going to use a Sorby hollowing tool. It's a small gooseneck hollowing tool. I've had it a number of years. It has a little insert. The shaft is 3/8, I think. So it'll fit in that 5/8 inch hole. Did I say I drilled a 5/8 inch hole? So I drilled a 5/8 inch hole. This is a 3/8 inch tool, so the math says that this tool will fit in that hole. However, you have to be careful because there's not a lot of room. And so if you use the tool in this position, guess what will happen? It will turn and catch and tear out. So you want to make sure you have the tool rest far enough back that you're actually on the straight part of the tool and not the curved part of the tool. Otherwise, you will feel it. Trust me. Now, I've also heard, and I haven't done this, but you can also use Allen wrenches. The Allen wrench, you can grind off the tip of an Allen wrench and sharpen the tip of an Allen wrench and turn a little handle and jam the Allen wrench in, and now you have a square hollowing tool also, which works very well on small ornaments. So I just happen to have this, so I use this.
Jim, do you just grind the top and the bottom of that Allen wrench?
Yeah, so you would grind it basically, I don't know if you can see this tool, this insert.
Is that teardrop shape?
It is a teardrop shape. Are your eyes better than mine? There you go, maybe right there. So it is a teardrop shape, so you would grind it flat on the top and then the bottom side. If I can get the angle right. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got just a slight bevel to it underneath, kind of a relief. So you got just a flat cutting surface.
Is that carbide or is that?
This is just a high-speed steel. I sharpen it on the grinder. I'll take it off and just put it on my tool rest on my grinder and just rotate it real lightly just to get the same profile. So hopefully it's still sharp. And you will get vibration. It's okay. It's nothing to worry about. And I mean, you're going to get it because you're extended 2.5 inches over your tool rest. So that's okay. Just make sure you keep firm pressure in your hand. Another trick that helps is the backside. I don't know if you noticed when I first started, I was out here. I pulled it in and put it on my hip. So now I'm using my hip and my abdomen to actually secure the backside of that tool to help with vibration. And so you have to be really patient when you're hollowing it, and you're also doing it by feel. You know, obviously you can't see the tool cut, so all you can do is feel. So don't be afraid just to get in there and try it and put gentle pressure on it, and you'll feel it. And when you feel more comfortable, you can increase a little bit more pressure to remove material. You do have to go slow. One of the reasons you have to go slow is because there's no place for the chips to go. The chips are inside this. And typically I'll take an air hose every now and then. I'll just blow out. Also noting when you do blow out, we don't have an air hose so I can't show you. Put your hand over it when you blow it out. Otherwise you'll get it in your face. I like fiber for my dinner, but not that much fiber. So you can see it grabbing every now and then, and that's because I've hit the bottom of the hole. So where I drilled out, I'm now hitting the end grain of that workpiece. It's the bottom. So that's why it's grabbing. So I'm trying to work it so that I'm actually hitting more like the corner to the outside of the hole rather than the bottom of the hole. Okay, so you can see the dust line in there. So if you can imagine, I'll turn it off to be safe. So if you can imagine where that dust line is, if I can put it up on the, even now if you can still see the dust line. So you can kind of imagine that's where the tool is, so the edge of the cutter. So I'm probably right about in this area. So I've probably got maybe an 1/8 inch more to go before I'm at depth right in that corner. It's not very deep because I didn't drill very far, but so I'm getting there, and this is the greatest tool you ever have, are your fingers. So just stick it in there and feel, and you can tell what the depth is just by feel. And I'll show you another trick a little bit about depth. We're going to move this in just a little bit more. So again, this is where you have to use your imagination of where that tool, where that cutter, that tip is as you're cutting, because you can't see where it's at. So you notice that I actually spun around at one point and went in kind of more at an angle, and that's because I was imagining where that cutter was, and I can feel it, so I know where I'm cutting on the inside. So we're going to go ahead and drill out a little bit more. So I'm going to go to about depth. And I'm going to use my finger and feel, okay, good hole. That's a good hole in there. Still a lot of chips in there. They're hot. So before I turn it, I move my tool rest in, so I'm just checking to see where am I going to be. I don't really like that. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Nothing glamorous about that part. You just have to be patient, feel it, hot. Yeah, well, usually air helps. Yeah, so I didn't actually go, so I could feel with my finger that I didn't actually go to the bottom of the hole. I went next to it. So I need to come in and go try to find that hole again that I drilled and pull off material out of it. Caught that, huh? A little bit out around there. Okay, not too bad.
What species did you turn it into?
I think this might be sycamore. So, yeah, I don't know. Just the best ornaments are kind of the spalted ones, so they got a little bit of more flavor to them. So this isn't actually a thickness gauge, it's just a set of calipers, but I'm not really using this to measure the wall thickness. I measure wall thickness by just using my finger and gauging it, I mean, that's accurate enough. But what I do to use this for is to kind of gauge, am I consistent along the full size? So I just kind of go in and then I'll create a gap. Find a point, create a gap, and just kind of watch how far off am I on that gap as I come around. So pretty consistent up in through there. And then I can't get around. But I'm not too bad. I'm a little thick in here compared to the back side. So that's okay. Now this cutter actually you can loosen the set screw and you can rotate the cutter head, which is what I'll do a lot of times to come in and clean this face. I'm not going to do it right now. The inside, you can actually kind of hook it around even further. So that's good enough. You get the idea. You can keep working on it on your own. Excuse me. And you can go as thin as you want. I'm not going to go any thinner because otherwise I'll end up like this again, which is no fun. Well, it is fun, but it's not that kind of fun.
It is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, right, Mike? I didn't even have to look at you, and I knew who that was.
It was applied.
So I'm going to go ahead and try to bring in the back side, the bottom side of the ornament, the body now. Not real pretty, but you get the picture. Okay, now before I go any deeper, if I estimated my depth about right, I'm using my finger, it's calibrated, so I know that I'm about, if you can see my fingers on there, that's where the tip of my finger is the end of the hole. So that hole did not go all the way through. The reason I didn't go all the way through is because I want to make another hole, but smaller on the other side. So the bottom finial has a 5/8 inch hole, although it looks like I maybe made it larger, but, and the top side will have, I think I'm using 1/2 inch. And the reason I do that is just to differentiate the top from the bottom and the finial size. It's not a big deal, but typically you want to have a small finial on top, so having a smaller tenon to go in that hole is better. Does that scare anyone else? Think that made it through? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's so not about measuring. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and finish it out with this. Although, what we're going to do now, because I don't like that, is I'm going to sand it a little bit. You didn't see that. It's always better to sand without the tool rest in your way. I like my fingers. Okay, so good enough for show and tell. Just because I like the feel. Yeah, it's okay. Boy, if I could find the right tool quickly. Now remember, I drilled a 1/2 inch hole, right? So as soon as I start getting to where I feel about 1/2 inch, I need to pay attention, right? So don't distract me, because I know you're going to. Mike? Again, I'm creating like a little bit of a ridge, kind of an uptick, if you can see that curve, just a slight curve up, rather than coming full around like a sphere. Okay, you're making me nervous. Boy, I wasn't very good at measuring with my eyes, was I? Maybe I didn't drill far enough. Don't drop it.
At least if you do, make sure you have enough sawdust.
Yeah, so, okay. So there's a little bit in there. It's a little heavy. I'm a little thick. You can tell. You feel the weight. And I can also tell that I didn't go deep enough. If you want to look at it.
So your friend works good for depth gauge, mine don't go all the way in there.
Oh, it doesn't, huh? Okay, so
You can use those depth enhancers, yeah.
I didn't quite remove enough material out of the bottom side of that. You can tell because it's a little bit thicker. You look through the 1/2 inch hole. Okay, so I just changed chucks, and the reason I changed chuck because I really want to change the jaws. I don't want these jaws on it, the number 2 jaws. I want the pin jaws on it for the finial. And I just turned a piece of walnut round. You get it? It's round. It's a lathe. That's what lathes do. Anyway, you guys don't find my humor very humorous, so I'll just keep going. Pin jaws are a lot more stable on small work pieces. They have a lot more surface area for gripping, so that's why I prefer to use the pin jaws when I'm making finials. And I'm not going to use the tailstock on this because I'm foolish, and I'm going to hope that I can do better without it. So I'm just kind of roughing it out, just thinning it out. It's really not turning fast enough on me. I'm all the way up. Do I have to change the belt?
Yeah,
Okay, what's the magic? Do I go smaller or bigger? Who's going to tell me?
Bigger on bottom, smaller on top.
Bigger on bottom, smaller on top. What's that?
Inside the cover, you can see the speeds.
Oh, so I have to read?
It's your
Is it a picture? Oh, perfect. I like pictures. Yay, you guys are so smart. I don't know what I would do without you. Yes, I do. Okay, so now, you guys kind of remember, I think I said something about like a 5/8 hole, right? So that's a tenon, right? That's the tenon, that's the hole size that the tenon is going to go in. So I need to make a 5/8 tenon, right? To go in the 5/8 hole. Because that's the way.
Your hole's bigger than 5/8 now.
The hole's big, well, okay, we're going to imagine that it's 5/8. Okay. Okay, how big is that? Anybody know? Anybody want to guess?
What?
You sure? Make sure you grab a 5/8 wrench and you check.
30 seconds.
Oh, nope, it's too big.
It's probably 5 inches.
Boy, you guys are tough.
Is that a better 5/8?
Make sure you grab the 5/8 side and not the 9/16 side. Nope, still too big. Now, there's a tip. Was that guy Fast Eddie? No, Captain Eddie. I like Fast Eddies. Captain Eddie shows a tip where you take a wrench and you grind the end off, right, and it becomes a cutter, kind of like that cutter. Hey, that's pretty fancy. But I didn't do it because I'm lazy, and so I'm gonna try it sometime, but it still doesn't fit. So I'm gonna keep using my parting tool. Don't try it when it's on. You can if you want, but it might hurt. So I'm not there yet. Ooh, it's close. I can feel it. Oh, it's close. Oh, it's close. And you said it's not a 5/8 hole. It's bigger than that. But we're gonna. Okay. That's pretty darn close right there. You said the hole's a little bit bigger than 5/8 now, right? I'm trusting you guys. I'm gonna leave it at that. Because sandpaper works sometimes too. That was interesting. So I'm just making this up. I don't know what I'm making, but Okay, so you probably noticed I'm using my hand, so it's vibrating a lot, right? So I'm not taking very deep cuts, very light, shallow shaving cuts, but I'm using my fingers to stabilize the workpiece. So I'm not really pushing, I'm not pushing very hard with my fingers at all, and I'm not pushing very hard with the tool. I'm kind of letting them blend together to keep the workpiece stable as I'm cutting, and if it starts to vibrate a little bit, then I adjust my fingers or adjust the cutter to try to keep the vibration from happening too much. Good thing there's a camera, huh? By the way, the tool is resting on the tool rest. So I'm not holding the tool up in the air and magically doing this. So just, you know, if you're wondering about safety, it's perfectly safe. My thumb is still keeping pressure on the tool rest. Sharp edge. Too sharp. and the cheater. And if you want, how about a little softer sandpaper? Good enough. I would spend more time and get rid of some of those cutting marks. Oh, look at that. It chipped out on me. Bad. That's what we heard flying earlier, right?
He's got the chips if you want to put it back on.
So, yeah. You're awesome. And I'm not so good.
Fine catch.
So that's what it would look like, huh? Okay, use your imagination. Oh, you know what? Huh, silly, I need to part it off, don't I? Can't put it in the ornament like that. How come no one told me? Thought I knew what I was doing? You all distracted me. Okay, so pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So if I didn't have the breakout, that's what that would look like. Glue, you would use CA glue. Glue it in. You would make another small one, very similar finial for the top, another short one, and you can put drill a little hole in it, whatever, however you want to hang it. I usually just put a knob on the very top, and I'll drill a hole through that, and then put a piece of ribbon through it to hang it. So that's the idea. Pretty simple, straightforward. The magic about this ornament is the thinner the wall, the lighter the ornament is, and that's what's really important for ornaments and Christmas trees. So when you hollow it out, spend time, be very patient, and take out as much material as you feel comfortable taking out, because you'll remove the weight, and that'll be that's really what makes the ornament shine, is when someone picks it up and they say, wow, that big ornament weighs that little. So that's really the sign of excellence. So be patient when you're hollowing it out. Take your time. Use air to blow out the chips so that you can actually feel what you're cutting rather than the chips. And then on the finial, take your time. Support the slender parts like I did with your finger. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly safe. Take very fine cuts. And voila, you get yourself a pretty ornament. So, thanks.